here on a roundabout. On a roundabout. If Jerry had cut 3 or 4 Cowboys for taking a knee, then we can have this conversation, and I would be open with having it. But he cut nobody. He cut nobody. So now we just huffing and puffing at the win. There's nothing here. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So we can take it where we gotta take it, but that's what I'm telling you is, I didn't see that. Nobody disrespected the flag. If Jerry would have cut somebody, then you could say, man, Jerry must be racist. Because that's the way this conversation must be trying to go. But I don't see that in Jerry.
Okay. I'm stressed out, 1, by this conversation, and 2, Jimmy Butler's new landing spot.
Wait, I gotta talk about this. I have to talk about this because Governor Michael Irvin, your soliloquies and your thesis statements are phenomenal, Mike.
Yeah, that nigga might as well run.
Yeah,
bro.
you got my vote. You hear me? You got my vote. And I don't vote like that, but you got my vote. Can I vote from another state, Mike? Can I vote from another state?
Hey, let me ask you guys something, because I do have some invitations on my desk to attend some things with Trump. That Trump is asking, and people are asking for the Trump part. So now, do I attend those? Do I attend this event and try? And what do y'all think on that? Should I attend these events?
Wait, Mike, I want to talk about the end racism, because when we talk about racism, are we talking about just the hating of black people? Does that include the Latinos? Where are we going with the hate racism? I mean, yeah. End racism.
Right. We talk black and brown and all color people.
All right. So yeah.
In racism, but y'all know who has the problems. It's really us, right?
All right. So when we talk about end racism, why don't we just say stop hating blacks? Why do we have to charismatically go around what you're really stating, passive aggressively saying what you're really saying? If it's really stop hating on blacks, do you understand how powerful that will be in the end zone? Stop hating on blacks. That's what we're trying to say. That's why you got me here. For the objective perspective. Shout out to my boy Star Report, Stop hating on blacks is what we're trying to say, because these are the people that are really going through this. Like you said, people say they have nothing to do with it. That was last generation. That was my ancestors. But you want them to do something to make up for it. Just stopping it right now, ending racism right now, won't help unless you go back and do some help towards those things. We was talking about being traumatic and going through trauma and things of that nature, right? So if you just giving me more pause trauma today, that doesn't change what happened before, because that's kind of where you're getting a behavior from that you don't like. So not only do I not like the in racism, I don't even like the joint about love, because when you talk about love, everybody's definition of love is not the same. So when you use this brand word of love, like me, I got married, but my definition of love was like, I'm walking with you with my hand, with your hand, that's love. But it was so much more than that. But from where I come from, being all the trauma I've been through, I thought just holding my hand was love. Like I'm in public with you with my hand in your hand. That's love.
Right.
And I like that, because even if I love you, I might not do that.
Yeah,
that's too much. That's just too much.
What else you want me to do?
That's like great one. That's like, yo, that is fucking great. Like, yo.
I'm not capping. I told her, my hand is in your hand.
Yeah,
like
lock. I dig that, bro. I like that.
This is.
I definitely dig that.
What do you think, Stat? That's.
Wait. We can have different understandings of love.
No, I get what Mother said. No, Mike, hold on, Mike. Hold on. What he's saying is, we grew up into great adults, but at that particular time, coming from where we came from, That's a big deal.
That was like love. That's in love.
Yeah, exactly. So
Hand
I
in hand,
get
pause.
that.
But Mace, here's why we have to discuss what is love. And you're absolutely right when you talk about just that big brand word, because we all consider love something different. We attach it to our yesterday as we walk into our tomorrow. So how your dad loved you is how you think love is. How her dad loved her is how she thinks love is. So you think being strong and not holding her hands is being loved. She thinks holding her hands is love. And if we don't discuss what is love, then we'll never come to a harmonious situation, because you doing love your way, she doing love her way. Y'all would both be saying the same thing, but still missing each other. You see what I mean? Because you didn't discuss the basics of how you see and what you consider love to be. You understand what I'm saying? Now,
so Governor Mike, you agree with me then that we got to?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But for us to go say stop hating blacks, you think white folks don't do that? They have a problem when you just said Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. That's a positive way of saying to tell people stop hating blacks.
Exactly.
They got mad. All lives matter. All lives matter. They can try to throw that out. So you know they ain't gonna say stop hating blacks. They're gonna say stop hating altogether.
Exactly.
But they won't say stop hating.
What did we say earlier? Exactly.
Yeah. Now you talking. But last thing I know, I'll move on to that. What I want to say is I love that point you made. A great point is this. I think the best relationship is when a female loves you and you like her a lot. I think that's the best. That's what I'm saying, because like is fun. When you start loving, it's too complicated, and they love you, but you just like them. That's the best.
I've so many thoughts. One, love is a universal term. The way you show it, express it is varied by different people. And racism, I mean, I think
is
that's
universal?
Valid. No, it's not universal. I think that's valid. I don't think that should trigger anybody for that to be
You don't
an
think
end zone.
racism is universal?
I think
I'm not saying it is. I'm just asking
racism. I mean, racism happens everywhere, but I don't think that term should trigger anybody. And
what term?
Like just end racism. And then to say stop hating blacks, that's totally no, because that's crazy. And even using the term blacks.
Why is it crazy?
Using the term blacks is like what they used against us to insult us.
So stop hating who?
The whole thing is not to cut you off, Murder. And I like
Browns?
stat points. I think we need to let stat talk. We've been told 30 minutes. We need to give her opportunity to say what she got to say. But the blacks don't have to mean Afro-Americans. That's what I'll
that's the point that I was making. Blacks is a trigger term for me in general. I don't think anybody, like especially people who are not African, like that should not be a term being used. There's a lot of things that I could get into about this. To answer your question about what you do with the president, that is completely up to you and what you want to represent, Mike. You guys touch on a lot of points. We don't have time for all of this.
You're not black?
Because I did not say that. I'm definitely black. Like, we knew that. We knew that. That's not even a question to ask.
My mother was black.
Now, they gonna come out saying they don't even want to be black.
They don't even want to be black.
I just said the end racism thing. I just don't think that should trigger anybody, because clearly there's been a lot of things in the past which has brought us to the point where we are now. I understand them wanting to take part of a theme with things that are happening now, but that should never go away.
Yeah, I'm basically saying chill out with the hallmark statements and get to the real root of what you're saying.
You want to get a bang for your buck. Stop hating on blacks.
Yeah, stop hating on blacks. You'll have people full attention.
Yeah.
Stop hating on blacks.
Y'all are
That's a little too harsh for the Super Bowl, but I get where you're coming from.
You're saying be direct, and I understand being direct, but there's different ways to be direct, guys.
So how can we say that? How can we say
not
that?
Stop hating blacks.
How can you say it?
They ain't coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, we're going to go to break. When we return, we will discuss Jimmy Butler's new landing spot. Don't go anywhere.
She called this thing about toxic. 4 years and counting. Got you feeling like an option. Maybe I'm my own problem, babe. She tired of hearing I don't know. My stubborn in me won't fall. no trust. But she really thinking about it, wanna be free.
Welcome back. Now let's get into our underdog picks of the day. Of course, Sunday, the Eagles will play the Chiefs. Underdog has Jalen Hurts at 38.5 rushing yards. Do you have him higher or lower, Mace?
38 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts. Higher.
Okay.
Yeah, higher. I mean, he's been rushing around 30. That's why Underdog did this. They know what it's about. I'm gonna go higher, especially if Saquon opens up. You get the receive. Yeah, he's going higher.
Okay. And Saquon is at 115.5 rushing yards. Do you have him higher or lower, Cam?
You know what it is with Saquon?
That's the story.
But you know what it is? Saquon, don't get it fucked up. He's killing 198 yards, 190 yards. But he gets these big 60-yard runs every game. 60, 70 yard, 50, 40 yard, all these big runs. And that accumulates a lot to the number like 115 yards. So if you get the first play, let's take for instance, last game they played, first possession
60.
that he got 60. So you already more than halfway to 115. I'm going over.
Yeah, I'm going over too.
Okay. And Patrick Mahomes at 250.5 passing yards. Do you have him higher or lower, Mace?
Ooh. I don't think he need that for us to win. Actually, I could see him getting 230 and rush for 84, and we'll still win. So it's not mandatory, but for the sake of Mahomes, I'm just gonna go higher.
I agree with the first part of what you just said. I don't think he needs that to win, so I'm gonna go lower.
Yeah.
Okay. If you guys like these picks, remember you always get a free pick if you're not already on Underdog, so make sure to support the show. Sign up now and you can make your picks too. So we're switching gears to basketball. A lot has happened. We've seen the trade deadline and everything that's going on. Jimmy Butler.
Stat. Before we even get into that, why y'all rush me, Killer? Why y'all rush me off the...
We was running out of time, man. My bad.
Yeah, man, it's Black History Month. We can't say stop hating blacks on Black History Month. You got the All-Star Black History Month.
They do all this shit now, man. We can't say what the... Yo.
Yeah, Super Bowl Black History Month.
Yeah.
It's our month.
Yeah, stop hating. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I
they
like
trading blacks. Trade deadline is in a black month.
You got a great point, man.
Oh my God! Never thought that. Never thought about.
Right. The Pro Bowl, get all y'all together in that month.
Right. Oh my God! Oh my God! He's right. How is it Black History Month, and we go back to the history of trading blacks? Boy, I never thought about that. Boy, you get dead
Mike, from a fellow football expert.
Yeah, but you bigger than football now.
Yeah, I'm bigger than football.
You bro, it's a lot of hot shit going on in Black History Month. I ain't gonna lie. You got the Super Bowl, the All-Star game, and you're trading majority of these black people. Yo, you're a good nigga, man. I like that one. That's why you up here. That's why you here.
And Stat don't want me to say this because you wearing animals now.
No, oh my
You
gosh.
sophisticated.
No, that's not
Cheetah
what I
prints,
said.
leopard
You got your
prints.
point. I gotta keep this on time. And speaking of what
Okay.
you're saying, Dennis Schroeder was trying to make a point, and they done traded him to Utah. So we're gonna get into this trade. Like,
We told him yesterday.
Watch your
You know,
mouth.
you definitely told her yesterday.
Watch your
You
mouth
told the
and go
nigga-
to state.
I told the nigga go back to Germany. Yo, like yeah. We told you, Dennis. We told you yesterday. Don't do this. We told him. I don't know why
Told him,
nigga.
this is not the place to be spewing out your views in
Yo,
Golden State.
That's crazy because you know what?
I said Mark Jackson, right?
Well, it's a little different. You definitely said it's a little different situation. But the whole thing about it is, bro, we both said it because I told him to go back to Germany. You definitely said this is not the time to
Golden
be doing
State
it.
is not the place to be doing
You
that.
definitely said that. You
Yeah.
said Golden State is not the place. I have to absolutely give you 100% credit for that. And this is why players, they get mad at us and shit. But this is the show to listen to. Because we're trying to tell you, it's a little different situation.
point, and they done traded him to Utah. So we're gonna get into this trade.
Prince, Leopard
Got your
Prince.
point. I gotta keep this on time. And speaking of what
Okay.
you're saying, Dennis Schroeder was trying to make a point, and they done traded him to Utah. So we're gonna get into this trade.
Oh.
Like,
We told him.
I told him,
We
watch
told him
that-
yesterday.
watch your
You know,
mouth,
you
man.
definitely told her yesterday.
Watch your
We
mouth
told the
and go
nigga-
to State.
I told the nigga go back to Germany. You don't like it. We told you.
point, and they done traded him to Utah. So we're gonna get into this trade.
Oh.
Like,
We told him.
I told him,
We
watch
told him
that-
yesterday.
watch your
You know,
mouth,
you
man.
definitely. Yo, you a good nigga, man. I like. Yo, you a good nigga, man. I like.
gosh,
Sophisticated.
no, that's not what I
Cheetah
was saying.
Prince, Leopard
Got your
Prince.
point. I gotta keep this on time. And speaking of what
Okay.
you're saying, Dennis Schroeder was trying to make a point, and they done traded him to Utah. So we're gonna get into this trade.
Oh.
Like,
We told him.
I told him,
We
watch
told him
that-
yesterday.
watch your
You know,
mouth,
you
man.
definitely told her yesterday.
Watch your
We
mouth
told the
and go
nigga-
to State.
I told the nigga go back to Germany. You don't like it. We told you, Dennis. We told you yesterday. Don't do this. We told him. I don't know why
Told him,
niggas.
yo,
if any-
this is not the place to be spewing out your views in
Yo.
Golden State.
That's crazy because you know
Told him-
what?
I said Mark Jackson, right?
Well, it's a little different. You definitely said it's a little different situation. But the whole thing about it is, bro, we both said it because I told him to go back to Germany. You definitely said this is not the time to
Golden
be doing
State
it.
is not the place
Not-
to be doing
you
that.
definitely said that. You said
Yeah.
Golden State is not the place. I have to absolutely give you 100% credit for that. And this is why players, they get mad at us and shit. But this is the show to listen to. Because we're trying to tell you what could potentially happen, my nigga. We're trying to educate you. You think it's all... We said, yo, hey, nigga, exactly 24 hours ago on this show, we tell Dennis Schroeder, chill out, he talking about, yo, this is like modern day slavery. Yeah, all right.
Utah.
Yo, go figure it out in Utah.
Let's see if you had that same energy in
Yeah.
Utah.
With 4% black people in the state.
oh Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the full details of the trade. So the Heat finalized the deal, which includes Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker via the Jazz, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick going to Miami, while Dennis Schroeder is heading from the Warriors to Utah. So a fan actually sitting by the Heat bench
Wait,
broke
they getting
the
rid of
news.
Andrew Wiggins?
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler's on the state. They got rid of Andrew
Yeah.
Wiggins.
Yeah. So a fan actually broke the news to the Heat players who were sitting on the bench in game because obviously they don't be knowing until it be happening. So given all the recent conversation, all the players that I named and what we know now, Mace, actually gonna let you go first. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about Jimmy Butler being a Warrior?
I think he adds another layer of toughness to Golden State that will be problematic in the playoffs, because when you got a stellar shooter in Stephen Curry, and then you got a dog pause in Draymond, then you got after Draymond does what he's doing, when it turns into small ball pause, and you got Jimmy Butler on the other wing, this becomes really dangerous. It becomes very dangerous because they got other shooters that could shoot, and you got people who could get to the basket. And whenever you got a slasher and a person somebody on the perimeter that could shoot, that become a good tandem, you know. So you wouldn't want anybody on the other side of the ball pause when you're dribbling as Jimmy Butler than Stephen Curry. You know they can't double you because everybody will have to play you one-on-one, or they can get two or they get three. And because of that, it just opens up the perimeter crazy pause.
Yeah, I think this is if Jimmy Butler, look, nobody has a problem with Jimmy Butler's game. It's more about his attitude.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the perfect time to get Jimmy Butler when the playoffs are about to start. We have to make a push to even get in the playoffs, because I don't know what seed Golden State is at right now. I think they're like 10th or 11th. They wasn't even in the play-in last time I checked. But this is a great time to
11.
Yeah, they're not even in the play-in currently. But I think this is a great time to get Jimmy Butler making a push right after All-Star break to get in the playoffs. What Jimmy Butler brings, and I don't think Golden State has this on their team currently. You have a great three-point shooter, Steph Curry. When his three-point game opens up, he can get to the basket, so on and so forth. But Golden State, to me, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't have, at least not this year, somebody that you could say, and I know they run a motion offense, so it's constant moving.
could get a bucket.
But you don't have nobody who say move.
Yeah.
Move, move. Because you got Draymond. Steph ain't a move type nigga. Some niggas is like, move. They wave the pick away. When you come to save the pick, no. I was one of them. I don't need a pick. This nigga about to be on skates right here, and it's gonna be bad for him trying to guard me one-on-one. I think Jimmy Butler's that type of guy. Not necessarily to get you a skates, but he's gonna get you a bucket. His name is Jimmy Buckets. So I think it's a great thing. It wasn't ever about his players, about his attitude. What Golden State did do is get him to sign a 2-year extension because his contract was up at the end of the year where he could opt out. So now you don't just get Jimmy Butler, and that's what a lot of teams were scared of. You get him now, but it's like a rental. You get him now from February to possibly April, depending on maybe June, depending on how far you go in the playoffs. They got him to sign that 2-year extension, so he's locked in, and you can't just do what you want. So I think this is a great move for Golden State. I don't know what this really says about Miami right now. Wiggins was good at one time, and I'm not saying he's not good now. But over the last 2 years, it just seems too much personal things are involved in his life where it's affecting his game. And I know we say and make fun of things and everything else, but it's going too far with the personal, no disrespect, whatever he's going through. But now 2 years is leaking into my business if I'm owning an organization. He hasn't played good since Poole left. And whatever you got going on personally, I hope you work it out. But we're still running the business here.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mike, what do you think about Jimmy Butler being a Warrior?
But there's so much in this because Jimmy Butler wanted to be a Suns, wanted to go play with Kevin Durant, and then when Bradley Beal would not relinquish that no trade, you know, they were trying all kinds of ways to move that thing around, and somehow we find out now Jimmy Butler ends up in Golden State when they were trying to get back Kevin Durant, and Jimmy Butler wanted to go play with Kevin Durant. This thing may not just be a this year thing. Remember, they're still willing and going through it in Phoenix, right? And trying to make some decisions on what to do there. So I love Jimmy Butler going to Golden State because I think this is great for him. And what you were talking about, Cam, Jimmy he's a cutter. He can drive to the basket. I don't know that Golden State's they never had a guy like Jimmy Buckets in the playoffs that's a cutter, that'll drive to the basket, and now kicking back out to Steph. I mean, are you joking? Now you're gonna kick back out to the greatest shooter ever? And if you don't get in front of Jimmy Buckets, he's gonna go get those buckets in the playoff. They got to get to the playoff, like you guys were just talking about. But it brings a toughness. Jimmy in his whole life ain't never played with a shooter like Steph. So I know he has to be happy. It's going to be interesting to see if they can work their way back in it. But I think this is a 2-year thing. When they gave him that deal, and they've been talking about still trying to get Kevin Durant and all that. So you know, I think they're trying to pack up, and I don't think Kevin Durant's still out over there. So
well, the thing about it is
he's trying to get back in it while they still got the greatest shooter.
Yeah, listen, the thing about it is
it's a 2-year thing.
Yeah, but Kevin Durant last 48 hours been on the record saying he doesn't want to go. Whether he wants to go or not, he doesn't have a trade clause. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, if you publicly say I don't want to be there, then they're like, well, fuck you too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think he put that out there in case they were trying to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He said
they were trying to work it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah. They didn't want to get rid of Kevin Durant at first, but since Bradley Beal would not waive the trade clause and they don't want to sit back, they said the only person they know would definitely be there is Devin Booker. The mother jokers they working around and working with Kevin Durant.
right. Well, last thing I'll add, because y'all know I'm a Heat fan, and I knew Jimmy Butler was leaving, but this entirely stressed me out because Jimmy Butler is not only my favorite player, but for me, Steph Curry's my GOAT. So now I got 2 of my favorite players on the same team, like by default.
You're a Golden State. Oh my goodness, that.
Guys, I don't know. I'm distraught. I don't know where to go. Like, that really stressed me out.
This is all Mace's fault that niggas is flying all over team to team.
No, I'm not saying I'm switching. I've never switched a team before.
Stat, you know what's
But
crazy?
I have some things to think about because the next 2 years.
You know what's crazy? I bought you a Golden State hat. The big hat that we have is back there. It says Golden State. I must have saw this.
I have to think about it. I have to think. I
I'm
have
filming
to
from
sleep
the
on
chair if niggas start with state hats.
I have to sleep
Showing
on
that
it.
right now.
I'm
What
really
was the-
stressed out
Can
about
I add
this.
one last thing?
Yes.
Can I add one last thing that Jimmy Buckets may like a lot? Because now he's in San Francisco. You know, when Jimmy comes as Jenny with that little wig and all that stuff, and all that, you know.
When he comes
Well,
as
that's
Jenny.
it,
And nigga said he in
Well,
San
well,
Francisco.
when
This
he
nigga's a
comes as
funny
Jenny,
With the-
you can mess around if you want to.
What is he talking about?
clicked.
The emo?
No, he said when Jimmy come with the like the bang and the shit. But the nigga
Bang.
said, but then he said Jenny. The nigga called him Jane. That nigga said he in San Francisco, so it might be all good.
Y'all get what I'm saying.
I know, dude. Mike is wild.
Yes, I'm sorry. Todo rato solo cago. Ay, Dios.
Us humans have the tendency to rely on visual changes to understand things, right? So it would be easy to see how you look at the brand new $1,299 S25 Ultra and think, well, it sure looks a lot like last year's $1,299 S24 Ultra. I mean, it's been a whole year, and what did? They made the edges a little boxier? Sure, I guess that's great. It's funny, it looks slightly thicker, but it is actually physically thinner. As much as I like boxy though, it is a little bit sharper in some places. Oh, and they also made the bezels a little bit thinner. So now the screen is 6.9 inches instead of 6.8. Nice. And it's also a bit of a more durable Gorilla Glass on the outside, but just remember, it's still glass. Also, the camera rings on the outside are just a little more pronounced. Fancy. You know, but none of this really makes a huge difference to usability. To really understand this phone, you have to look what's happening on the inside. So, there's basically one major new thing to care about with this phone. See, if you watched the OnePlus 13 review, you know I talked about the three big pillars that a bunch of these new flagships coming out in 2025 are going to have. The Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, these super bright new displays, and silicon carbide batteries. All pretty awesome technologies. But this new S25 Ultra only has one of those things. It has the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. It also doesn't have IP69, it doesn't add Qi 2 magnets, it doesn't bring back the 10x zoom, or even add high-frequency PWM dimming. They even actually downgraded the S Pen, which I'll get to in a minute. They have just played it incredibly safe with this phone. They just took last year's award-winning flagship phone and did the bare minimum, a spec bump. And here's the thing, Samsung in the US has risen to this point where that's kinda all we realistically expect from them anymore. It's kind of the same thing with the iPhone, by the way, because in places like the US, where they're huge, they just actually don't have pressure to compete directly against the Vivos and Xiaomis and Oppos of the world, because those guys don't have any meaningful traction in the US. So Samsung has established themselves as the go-to safe option for so many people. So now that they have, of course they're playing it safe. So I and other reviewers will say things like, well, if you want another great phone but has a brighter display, IP69, a way better battery life, faster charging, and a $400 lower price tag, you can get a OnePlus 13, and it'll be awesome. Now, you won't really find it in most carrier stores around here, but you can find it if you know what you're looking for. And it doesn't really work with every carrier. Like Verizon, you can forget about it, but I can't daily it on AT&T only really because they don't support Wi-Fi calling on devices that aren't officially carried by them. So in this soundproof video studio, I can't make calls all the time, so it's just brutal for me, but you could probably still make it work. Or how about if you just want a flagship with better cameras across the board, Vivo X200 Pro. It's the obvious choice. You'll have to import it if you know what you're doing, and most people don't, but that's a good option. And look, I could go on, but here, as long as people in the US buy their phones from carriers, which they do, and as long as they keep putting out phones that play it safe and don't totally suck, which they are, then they will continue to be the go-to, and people will just keep buying them and they will never feel threatened. So this phone plays it safe, doesn't totally suck. That new Snapdragon 8 Elite chip is really good. It's the best part of this phone, honestly, compared to last year. The phone is fast as hell. It benchmarks crazy high, rivaling Apple's A18 Pro chip. It's a little lower in single core, but it's actually higher in multi-core. And using this phone, it's just so smooth. It's smoother and more efficient than ever before. So I have nothing but good things to say about the performance. Samsung also paired that chip with a 40% larger vapor chamber, and none of my regular use has gotten anywhere near warming up this phone. And it looks like all the international versions of the S25s are all going to get this new chip. So no Exynos chips in certain regions. Everyone is going to enjoy this performance. But that's also all going to be true about basically every other flagship that comes out in the Android world for the next 10, 11 months. So if you pick this phone, it won't be because of the chip, it will be because of Samsung's stuff, all their software, One UI 7, and the AI features they've chosen to add. So Samsung software is good. It just got this big overhaul with One UI 7 on top of Android 15, and the longer I use it, honestly, the more I like it. I do keep seeing features that are clearly inspired by iOS, which is totally normal, but they've kind of done it in their own way. So like instead of the total dynamic island copycat like OnePlus did, they have this new Now bar at a more reachable spot at the bottom of the phone that shows ongoing activities like timers with Samsung's timer, or ongoing navigation instructions with Google Maps, or media with Spotify. And if you click it, it'll expand and give you more info. So that's nice. Or the new notification shade, which is swipe down from the right for quick controls, or swipe down from the left for notifications. Where have we seen that before? But with this one, you can actually then swipe back and forth between them, and you can change which side is which in the settings if you want to, so that's nice. The new lock screen customization is also clearly inspired. Hold down on your lock screen to bring it up, play with the clock placement and the styling and font weights, but there are way more styles and options with Samsung's here. And then, of course, there's all the new AI stuff, some of which is good, some of which is pretty weak, I've found. So I've used the object eraser in the Photos app, for example, a few times. It's really good. If you ever need to remove a background object with AI generative fill, this is one of the best ones. The natural language search in the settings and the gallery also really good. I love just being able to find a setting buried in there with hundreds of available options just by saying the right thing. And finding an old photo by describing it is even more cool, and it actually works. AI Select is decent. I was hoping it would be a little more responsive and react more obviously to different contexts on my screen, but I like that it lets you quickly summarize something text related or make a GIF quickly from something like a video. I'm still more of a circle search guy though. The daily briefs though, honestly, not that good. Every time I click it, I wonder why it's being shown to me. It's barely AI. It's just like, here's your calendar again, here's the weather again, here's a single random news story and maybe a Spotify playlist. That's it. I'm gonna turn this one off. But worst of all is actually the unknown cost. See, I don't know if you caught it, but Samsung's messaging about all these AI features has been, they're the greatest thing ever, they're the biggest new features on these phones, but also free until the end of 2025, which But then what? They haven't said. So, clearly these AI features, they've cost some money to develop and they cost some money to run. And so they're free for now, but we don't really know at what point is Samsung going to start charging for them? How much are they going to charge? Part of me thinks Samsung doesn't even really know the answer to that question yet. They might be reacting to other companies or waiting for others to make moves first, but just in general, it's not great to have that looming over your head as a user. Also, I feel like I need to do some sort of AI commercial versus reality comparison at some point or something, because I don't know about you, but I don't know how long it's going to be before we get to the point where I ask an AI to plan a trip for me, and then I just follow the trip blindly. Like, I still want some control. I don't trust it that much yet. Now, even now, Gemini on this phone, plus a few plugins, lets it do some more interesting and complicated things. Like, it can reach into apps and do compound tasks. So I can say things like, look up the next Brooklyn Nets home game and add it to my calendar. And it'll do it. And I've done stuff like that and been impressed, but then I'll see one or two little errors in it, and it's not quite 100% accurate, and then it kind of breaks the illusion of the magic, and I don't feel like I would trust it to do the bigger things. So that's a story for another day, though. Here's something about this phone, though, that really summarizes so many of the thoughts I've had about it. This is one of the only phones with this, the S Pen, a super precise stylus that fits into the side of the phone. Already a pretty niche feature. They first added it to the Ultra from the Note series with the S22s, and they've continued adding capabilities to it over the years. This year, Samsung removed the Bluetooth functionality from the S Pen, which means it can no longer be used as a remote control shutter for the camera or for any of the media playback controls. And the old S Pen, which does that stuff on the old phone, doesn't fit in the new phone. So they took a feature away. And the justification was, well, the data shows that people didn't really use it. Less than 1% of people ever actually activated that feature on the phone, so we just got rid of it. And logically, I guess that does make sense, but if you follow that logic out, many people never even use the stylus at all. Why not remove that? And I think the answer is right in the name. It's supposed to be the Ultra. It's supposed to be the phone for cramming in tons of extra features, extra little things for the small amount of people who will actually use them and notice them and love them. If we didn't want all that, we'd just get a regular S25. Like Samsung, you just added log to the camera app, right? Like, this is a feature almost no one is going to even know their phone has, but for the people who will use it, like maybe a YouTube creator who has an entire car channel that they run where they just shoot it on phones, it's awesome. It's going to be a great feature. But, okay, it doesn't add to the bill of materials, so I guess you don't have to get rid of that. But what about the new 50 megapixel ultra-wide camera? It's been a genuinely nice upgrade. It still bins to 12 megapixels, but all of my ultra-wide shots now are much sharper corner to corner, and in darker light, the better sensor gathers more light and gives more usable images consistently. It's something a lot of people wouldn't have noticed, but in the Ultra, it's worth it. So when Samsung says they got rid of the Bluetooth and downgraded the S Pen, it's not that that decision doesn't make logical sense, it's just that we wanted the reason to be we got rid of that so we could fit in this other awesome feature that we just shoved into this phone because it's crammed with useful stuff. But there's none of that. Like, this phone is supposed to be the best that they can offer. It's in the name, it's what we pay the premium for, but this specific decision it's just the most obvious example of we're not really concerned actually about that here. It's more like we could save a few cents per unit and continue to appeal towards the masses. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that's why this phone also doesn't have a silicon carbide battery. I'm gonna guess that's why they didn't spring for IP69 certification. I'm guessing that's also why they didn't add Qi 2 magnets into the phone itself, because even without that stuff, this phone is still fine. Honestly, it's still really good. Even without a huge display upgrade, this is still absolutely one of the best displays. Super crisp, very bright, high refresh rate LTPO, and it's got that underrated anti-reflective coating. Media looks great on it, games look great on it. It's just not the best. The new chip works wonders with efficiency, and battery life has been awesome on this phone. I've ended days with 30-40% left, but it's not the best. But hey, it's still awesome. The rest of the cameras beyond this ultra-wide are basically staying the same as last year, and they've turned out to be totally fine too. Plenty of speed, great autofocus, a little bright sometimes and kind of overprocessed, but that's the Samsung thing for a while. They're awesome, but not the best. This phone, this S25 Ultra, is awesome, but it's missed out on an opportunity to be the best. And I think for $1,299, it's fair to expect the best. So it's been fascinating watching the competition catch right back up, watching the lack of pressure show itself. And it's crazy how fast we went from last year being like, why would you buy anything else? To this year saying, you could buy anything else. Now, a couple other things that didn't quite fit into the rest of this review / rant. One, the battery does seem to charge a little bit faster. Not a lot faster, but a little bit faster. And the hardware, in general, I think it feels a little more generic, yes, but there's still some thoughtful stuff. Like they flipped the SIM card tray to the opposite orientation, which doesn't sound like much, but more than once I have poked the microphone of a phone instead of the SIM card ejector port because of a confusing location, so I appreciate that. The regular S25 and S25 Plus have basically every single software and AI feature that I've talked about for this entire video, and the new Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. So my initial thoughts about maybe the cost of the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy being like a big bump, making them feel the pressure, trying to squeeze down like other cost savings in the phone, taking out Bluetooth from the S Pen. I thought that might hold water, but not anymore because these phones still have it, and they are $799 and $999, and probably a better value for most people. But for the enthusiasts, you know, those of you who would watch a whole 18-minute YouTube video on a new phone before choosing to buy it or not, now you know. The tables have turned. But also now, shout out to Best Buy for sponsoring this portion of the video. Whether you're upgrading to the latest Galaxy S25 Ultra or looking to try something else, Best Buy has what you need. You can shop online at the link below or in store at Best Buy. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Here's the thing about Nintendo. As soon as you think that you know exactly what they're doing, they kind of always pull the rabbit out of the hat and kind of surprise you with something that you didn't expect to see coming. And I think that's what Mr. Shuntaro Furukawa is foreshadowing here with the Nintendo Switch 2, because he's talked about the impact of the original reveal trailer, which is doing incredibly good view-wise, 20 million views plus at this point. And he's talked about how he wants to gauge things as they actually go for that April 2nd Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And that Nintendo Switch 2 Direct actually has a time. For those who missed it, it's going to be April 2nd at 6 a.m.
Slick.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a great conversation, but that is all the time that we have for today. Mike, thanks for being here. Enjoy NOLA.
Mike,
Yeah.
Good seeing you, man.
it's time to focus up for the Super Bowl.
No, that's time to focus up for them. I ain't got no focus up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna focus up and get some work in.
Nigga Mike went like this. I'll focus up. Focus behind the computer.
I was just looking at my focus. I was looking at my focus. Sounds right. You're right. You're dead right.
I can see you, Mike.
Thank y'all for watching.
Love y'all,
and
man.
as always,
man.
it is what it is.
What you want, nigga? Everything, nigga, super size. 2 Big Macs, like when they doing them 2 for $5.
In the history of the U.S. if this is something that
we shouldn't have to pay taxes no more then. There should
Here's
be no
the thing
more
about
federal
Nintendo.
taxes.
As soon as you
Because
think
they
that you
got
know
sovereign
exactly
wealth
what
fund.
they're
Well, they'll
doing,
lower the
they kind
taxes,
of
but
always
this is
pull the
actually
rabbit
great if
out
they
of
do
the
it the right
hat and kind of surprise you with something that you didn't expect to see coming. And I think that's what Mr. Shuntaro Furukawa is foreshadowing here with the Nintendo Switch 2, because he's talked about the impact of the original reveal trailer, which is doing incredibly good view-wise, 20 million views plus at this point. And he's talked about how he wants to gauge things as they actually go for that April 2nd Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And that Nintendo Switch 2 Direct actually has a time. For those who missed it, it's going to be April 2nd at 6 a.m. PT, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And your boy OJ will be up bright and early, making sure that I cover the show from everything, because this could be the biggest Nintendo Direct ever in the history of them. So we will be covering this. But let's talk about what Mr. Shuntaro Furukawa had to say. And I think that there's going to be some massive surprises and news dropping, obviously, that we didn't know or we didn't see coming on April 2nd. Because here's what Mr. Shuntaro Furukawa about waiting for the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct to truly judge consumer reactions. Now, here's the thing, guys. We got that big reveal finally back in January. And while there were some people saying, oh, there wasn't enough surprises or things like that, overall, people are like, cool, it's the Switch, but it's a more powerful one. It's going to have Mario Kart. It's bigger. Great. I like it. I want more. I like my Switch. Give me a Nintendo Switch 2. But there's a lot of people kind of dismissing, like, oh, well, they didn't do anything new, or they didn't do anything else, or there's no gimmicks or anything like that. But Nintendo didn't reveal more or everything about the system. Actually, they didn't really talk about any of the features at this point. Now, during a recent Viscount Q&A, Nintendo was asked about the reaction to the Switch 2 reveal, and Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa did note that the reaction was positive, but said that Nintendo is waiting. So here's his full words, and remember, guys, this is Google Translate, so we will get the official translation notes in just a bit, but we're going over it just as a general gist of what he's saying. Quote, we are grateful that many people around the world have seen the trailer, but since we have only shown the name and shape of the hardware, we believe that we will have to wait until detailed information is released on April 2nd to get a true sense of the reaction. At this point in time, many people are interested, so we will first focus on releasing that information and then have many people actually get their hands on the hardware to convey its appeal. So he's talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 experience overall. But remember what he says right there, on April 2nd to get a true sense. So there's definitely more to this hardware. He's saying, look, there wasn't really much that we showed off, and that was by design. April 2nd is when we're really going to let you know what's going on with this. So I definitely think that there are massive and huge surprises set for us when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. And I think that there will be some features that was in the patents or that what we talked about before when it comes to some of the sensing technology. I do think that HD Rumble 2 is going to be a thing. You have bigger Joy-Cons, you have more area for tech to put in them. So I do feel that the C button, that will be announced and talked about. They kind of blurted out or censored their own button because they didn't want to let people know or give a hint to what it was, but there is that C button on there that's going to be able to link to different things. Some people are guessing that it's going to be a community feature. It's going to be something to where you can link up with other people for easy online play or voice chat, or even a Miiverse 2.0 or their own community, potentially through rumors and all that, saying that's what Nintendo might do. So I do think that there is way more that meets the eye at this point, and people are going to be pleasantly surprised with some of the stuff that Nintendo has up their sleeves when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. But speaking of what they have up their sleeves, let's talk about something else that people are very interested in, and that's the affordability. They're thinking about that as well. But you know who else is thinking about affordability? Player Essence. I'm thinking about affordability, and that's why I'm charging you guys exactly $0 to subscribe to the Player Essence YouTube channel. A lot of you guys are watching and not subscribed. That's okay. It's free. Go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button while you're at it. Also, click that notification bell so you can get my vids as soon as they drop, because we're going to be going in when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 and locking into everything that you guys want to hear about, giving you the best breakdowns. Now, let's talk about this, because the breakdown of the price is a very important factor overall, and Nintendo is thinking about that. Once again, we got Shuntaro Furukawa. We've got a Google translated interview that's happening right here when it comes to his statement. So we're going to go over what he had to say about the price of the Switch 2 and what's going to be happening with the Nintendo Switch 1 cost as well. Quote, we are aware that inflation is currently rising and that the exchange rate environment has changed significantly since the launch of the Nintendo Switch in 2017. We also need to consider the affordable prices that customers expect from Nintendo products. When considering the price of our products, we believe that it is necessary to consider these factors from multiple angles. At this time, we cannot announce the specific price of the Nintendo Switch 2, but we are considering it taking into account various points. Now, this is one of the reasons why I didn't talk about some of the other leaked stuff that certain people were saying with the price. There were some guys that were saying, oh, it's going to be $400 something. They don't know the price. Nintendo, I don't think, has fully locked in what their price is going to be. So you would only know if you are in those board meetings with Shuntaro Furukawa in Japan. And there is no way anybody knows anything when it comes to that locked in 100% price at this point. But these words that Mr. Furukawa has to say here gives me a couple different things or different ways that he's going to go. One, it is obviously not going to be a $500 system. Some people were saying tariffs and inflation, that's going to cause a $500 system. No, that is going to cause a DOA almost. Like, yes, some people, the hardcore will rush out there and buy it for $500, but most people are not going to do that. And once again, he says we need to take into consideration all different angles and the affordability that Nintendo is known for. So if you look at the Nintendo Switch 1, that launched at $300. And $300 at that time, some people were saying that it was too much, but most people felt it was just right for the price. It was the same price as the Wii U, and actually $50 than what the Wii U launched with its best model. So essentially you got it for $299, and you can get a game, you can get Breath of the Wild, and that was about $370, $380 depending on tax and all that. So that was pretty good for most people. Set aside some money, you can pick it up. I do feel that with the Nintendo Switch 1, where Mr. Furukawa says that they're not really going to drop the price on Nintendo Switch 1 right now at this point, I think that they're going to have a tiered program just like this. Nintendo Switch Lite, that's $200. Nintendo Switch V2, that's $300. Nintendo Switch OLED, that's $350. Nintendo Switch 2, that is $400. You have the $50 plus or so increments going up from the Nintendo Switch V2 to the OLED to the Nintendo Switch 2. It makes it easy, it makes it identifiable, and you know exactly where the upgrade path is. From the Nintendo Switch Lite all the way up to the Nintendo Switch 2. And since you're labeling it 2, it's clearly that this is the superior or better product. $399.99 when it comes down to it, because that looks so much better than $449.99, or obviously $499.99. So considering that Mr. Furukawa's taken into consideration the affordability of past systems, I don't think it's really going to play in their favor if they have $100 more than Switch OLED, or even worse, $150 more than the Nintendo Switch OLED. I think a $50 jump from the Switch OLED is appropriate here at this point. Now, we obviously don't have all of the factors when it comes to features, and we don't have the full tech specs. Yes, there's been some leaks and stuff like that, but there's still information that there is no way anybody knows in terms of what Nintendo is doing until we get that full system and that teardown, and we start playing the games and start testing and start seeing exactly how Nintendo's version of DLSS and all of that is. So there's no way to know right now at this point. It does seem like Nintendo's going to provide some pretty good value when it comes to overall horsepower and what it can do, combined with the pure exclusives that it's going to have. That's really going to help push the system. Big games are going to be coming out. I think that Nintendo, with the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, where they talked about that, they really want to show off what they've been working on. All of Nintendo's biggest teams, from the big 3D Mario team to the Monolith Soft team, Zelda team, they're all working on huge games for the Nintendo Switch 2, and we're going to see some of those at this big April 2nd Nintendo Direct. So I think there are I would say, fusion of combined ideas between obviously having the price being affordable or right around probably $390